Hi there, welcome. Welcome to Homekeepers. How wonderful to be with you today. I'm glad you're there. I'm glad to be here. And you know, I was just in a store just a couple hours ago, and I was ready to check out, on the grocery line, and this really wonderful looking young gentleman looked at me and said, "Homekeepers." And we had the greatest conversation, and it's really special when a guy watches. And we really appreciate all the guys that watch out there, and I was glad I could meet this one. And so thankful for the opportunity. That's just what's so great. So to me, you're an opportunity, and I thank you for watching today. We appreciate our viewers. I just signed a whole pile of letters before I came down, and this is the truth. As I was signing them, I said, God, bless these families, bless these families. I want you to know that we do pray for you. We don't know your name, your face, or all that, but we are in your corner, that's for sure. Got a return guest today, Karen Whiting. She blows me away because she's written 25 books, and I'm talking 25 books of great quality. And they are books for the family. They are for the children. One of them we're going to talk about today, 52 weekly devotions for busy families. Some of the most creative things you'll ever see are in this book. And Focus on the Family is publishing this one, Raising a Young Modern Day Princess. It really takes a talented person like Karen to write books, I think especially for that middle school age, and she's really great with that. I'm glad she's back. And if you haven't met her, you're going to like her. And I'm going to join Stephanie, and we're making Susan's Vegetarian Black Bean Pasta. Now, Susan is a lady that both Stephanie and I would like to canonize. We would put her up for statehood. She does a lot of prep for us around here, and I've tried to get her in front of camera, and she won't do it, so I'm not going to take advantage of her. But she is a vegetarian, too, and so we've got this wonderful recipe, and we're calling it Susan's. So I know I'll like it because I love black beans and everything going in it. But before I do that, let me again offer you this Devotions for Difficult Times. I've had a lot of difficult times in my life, and I'm sure that many of you have as well. And so often it was a word, it was a devotion, it was something that carried me through. And this book has every kind of topic you can imagine of difficulties that we go through. And so I want to offer you this book for that gift to the program of $20. This is how we stay on the air, friends. And you can order it with a credit card. That 800 number's for you, 1-800-229-0059. And the address, box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758. And I highly, highly recommend this book. And I'm thankful for all those people who write devotions for us. I've got a bunch of them, and they've carried me through many, many times. So, what's going on? You have devotional books?
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah. Couldn't make it without them.
No, I love to go on a Saturday morning really early, go to the beach, sit down and read devotions and read. So that's one of my favorite
Bible
things
talks a lot, just a word, sometimes
yes.
just a word.
I'm going to put these mushrooms
we're
in.
doing mushrooms here,
yeah.
And is that canola oil or what is it?
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
Yeah. So we just need these to saute for a minute, and I just want to get them sauteing if you want to chat. I'm going to go and put the garlic in too. Yummy.
Oh my!
This is going to be
everything
good.
I love.
Yeah, this is going to be super delicious.
And we really owe this to Susan, don't we?
Well, should we tell on her what she did yesterday to us? Do you remember the soup?
Well, we excused it, but it really was kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
Subversive.
So we're making a soup, and because she's a vegetarian, she doesn't use chicken broth. She uses vegetable broth. So I have the vegetable. Well, I thought it was chicken broth in the pan, and I'm like, this does not smell right. And I'm like going, and she's over there like, oh, I'm like, this just doesn't smell right. This is not right. So we get all done. The soup was delicious. She's like, okay, that was vegetable broth.
Yeah,
so
and
she snuck it right in there so she could have some of the soup.
If forgiveness is necessary, you got it, Sue.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and put the spinach in so that can wilt down. This is really going to be delicious.
And this has a lot of good nutrition in it, friends.
Yeah.
I eat spinach about every day. I love the fact that it's triple washed and put in a bag, and I don't have to mess with it.
Right, super easy. I like super easy. I'm going to put the beans in, get everything heating up here.
It's downright pretty.
Oh yeah, salt and pepper, oregano and basil. Thank you.
Got
This is
a
gonna be
note from a lady
delicious.
who she addressed me in one paragraph, and then in the next paragraph she said, "And Stephanie, you're a whiz bang."
A whiz bang, I like it.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
do that.
We appreciate those positive notes. They mean a lot to us.
They really do.
I mean, more than people could imagine, really.
Right. Because whether it looks like it or not, what we do is work.
We're trying. We're just trying the best we can. We're doing the best we can. Okay, so I'm going to put some petite diced tomatoes in here. Make sure I didn't just make a mess. And then I just need a minute for this to heat up. Of course, at home, you're going to want this to cook a lot longer. Saute those mushrooms a little bit longer. Let this all get together and marry. Let all the flavor. Oh, do you smell it?
Uh-huh.
That smells good. This is going to be delicious.
Here
and this is
a-
healthy.
Yeah, very
is
healthy,
healthy.
and a wonderful, wonderful meal.
And good for your those
All you need
vegetarians.
is what do they call them? Those Chicago hard rolls with some fresh butter.
Yes. Yes, please. Oh, that smells. And that was so simple. That was so simple. It's almost warm.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't hurt to have a couple nights of the week where you don't have meat.
No, and you know what? You could make this, make a double batch, and then just take this without the pasta and freeze it. And then another night you come home, you just take this out, you make pasta, you
got
have
it.
dinner. I want to do anything I can to make my evenings more pleasant.
I know it, and I appreciate the fact that Stephanie really can give you some. See, I live by myself. But I do some things ahead. But she gives you some great ideas because so many, probably the largest percentage of women in America work.
And then they have to go home and they have
But
children.
on the
and
other
they have-
hand, we have done recipes that are so simple.
Yes.
And Stephanie has taught you how to plan ahead. And because my mother, everything was from scratch. Everything.
Yes.
So you can do it, gals.
Look at that.
Oh.
Oh my. That looks super good.
Well, it has to be good if we put Susan's name on it.
Right?
Oh,
Good,
boy.
right? I need to do this a little more feminine than I have in the
It
past.
is absolutely delicious. There is a meal.
No, that is good.
A meal, and basically it's pasta, which is cheap, and a can of black beans, which is cheap.
Yeah, and spinach and mushrooms.
So-
Healthy. Yummy.
If you just write to us and ask for Susan's recipe, we'll know what it is. And you can email me, and that's the quickest way to get it. If you don't use email, just write to us and send us an envelope with your name and address on it and a stamp, and we will send it out to you. This is a wonderful, wonderful recipe.
Delicious.
And I'll tell you, when this program is over, I'm going to finish eating this. Okay?
Okay.
Stay with me. I want you to meet Karen Whiting if you haven't met her yet, and you're going to be interested in what she writes.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, you may send your email request to arthelene@rippy.org, or you may write to us at the address on your screen, and in doing so, please include a self-addressed stamped envelope. We thank you for being a part of our Homekeepers family.
Well, Karen, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Arthelene.
I know you've been on a few times through the years, and so kind of watched the transition. You lost your husband, how many years ago was it?
It'll be 5 years in October.
I can't believe it's been that long, but that's it.
I know. It's, but, you know, he left us with such great memories and helped instill faith in our children, made such a difference in so many lives.
Boy, all I know is the older you get, it pays to serve the Lord.
Yes.
And when you get my age, and when you, like you have lost a husband, I've lost one, and your children are adults, and you're beginning to see that payoff, you know, when the kids are following the Lord. And so that's the one message I want to get across. Serve the Lord. Do what He says. It's a big payoff.
Oh, it is. And make sure your children are involved with you as you serve the Lord, too. I think
The Bible
that's
says there's
important.
pleasure in sin for a season. That's not very long. And it also says, thou wilt make known to me the fullness of joy. In thy presence is fullness of joy and pleasure forevermore. So you want the pleasure for a season or forevermore. Those are your choices.
That's right.
Let's talk about 52 devotions for busy families. And as I said at the top of the program, you could wipe this off if a kid gets syrup all over it. This is a wonderful cover and wonderful paper and color. And describe it to us.
Well, it's a weekly devotional because a lot of people don't have time every day, and it has multiple choices in it, so that one week you may do everything and another week you may choose one or two activities. So every day there is a family beatitude and a focus, and then there's a story that goes with it. There's 4 activities to choose to do, and there are 4 scriptures to read and discuss those questions. And then there is one other aspect that's a little different. There's a memory prompt or an art prompt so that you can make a family spiritual scrapbook for the year, and every week there's a prompt that goes along with the focus. You can have your children write that beatitude in there, take pictures of what they have done, and then the art prompts just give you, like, if it's a week on money, valuing money, you might draw some coins on there and maybe even draw something about what you did with it. And that way you all of a sudden have not just an album of pictures and activities you've done for the year, but what you've done to build the faith of your family. And I think that's very important. And there's a story that's 1 to 2 minutes to read, so it's very short, contemporary of what happens with real children and families. And each of the prompts can be done short or longer. You might want to use those chat prompts in the car, and the book easily fits in a woman's purse.
Well, it's so unbelievably creative. I was raised with family devotions, and I didn't always want to do it. It wasn't very creative, but oh, do I thank God today. And, you know, remember, you're the one that runs the house. That we're going to have family devotions. We're going to have, you make it creative and interesting for the child. For me, my dad would say, come on, we're going to read and pray. That's what he would say. And it wasn't a long, drawn-out thing. But we'd read a few verses, and we would kneel down and pray. And I would wish that for every family. Every day. What an anchor.
Yes, and my children valued that. My oldest, Rebecca, said to me at one time, you know, my earliest memories are doing family devotions. That's what I remember. That made a difference in my life. Of course, she's married to a pastor now, and she has adopted a couple of children, so she has a family now, but it's really good to see what happens and also to get that feedback from your children as they grow, that it made a difference. I had a son who said to me, Mom, would you do a book of devotions for Advent of all the things you did with us? And so I went to my publisher for that. I said Abingdon would be good for that one, and they said, yes, we'll do it, and that book came out last year at some point. And so another one that, because my child wanted it, how can I say no to my son who has his own children when he wants something like that?
That would move to the front of the list, I would think.
Yes, yes.
Now, you haven't been back too long from China. What was it that caused you to go there, and what did you do when you got there?
Well, part of it is God is so great. Since I was 10 years old and read some books by Pearl S. Buck, whose parents were missionaries, I wanted to go to China. And my husband went several times, and I could never go with him on his trips, not because I couldn't go with him, but because things were going on with family and I couldn't leave and go. And last year, after I moved back to Florida, I emailed in to some friends that work with Officer Christian Fellowship. A division of that is ACTS, Association of Christian Counseling and Teaching Services, and I said, you know, I'm ready. I want to go to China if you have something. And he said, you won't believe it. We have something new that a place wants us to come in and help inspire creativity in children. And they're going to pay our entire way. It's a company based out of Beijing, owned by Christians, and we want you to come. So 4 of us actually went over, and I designed a program where we would have them just using simple things like chenille stems to create things, and paper to make dioramas and put holes in them to make puppet theaters and do finger puppets and just really let their imagination go. They had a great time, and they also had us speaking to the parents to do, I did a puppetry workshop for teachers. We worked with...
Do you speak through an interpreter?
Yes, always through an interpreter. You know, Mandarin is a tonal language and I'm tone deaf, so that's really hard for me.
Only God could put together a trip like that.
I know, and they want me to come back. So probably next spring, if everything works out, I'll be going back. And you know, I just had such a wonderful time there. I love children. They were great. And when they were making shapes with the chenille stems, I'd stop and say, okay, you've been having fun. Now make a shape that you can teach me a word from that shape. So they'd make flowers, bicycles, or whatever, and try to teach me to say the word.
Well, your kind of creativity just leaves me in awe. First place, I got my worst grades in art in school. But you seem to be able to hone in on that middle schooler. To me, that's the tough one. Is it the toughest?
It depends on the relationship you have. You know, I found that my boys were tougher when they were younger because they were rowdy and wanted to climb every, well, not so much to my middle one, but they had their toughness then and the bullying ages and all. The girls were harder as they reached the middle school age. And of course, the family devotional is for the families of a wide range of ages, and that's really nice to be able to do because at one time, you know, I had children from newborn to 14 years old, so I had that wide spread. I think the biggest thing is to always treat them with respect and love them, and certainly to love being with them, and that helps a lot. Engage them where they're at, and that makes such a difference. You know, I worked with a teen ministry where we had tweens through teenagers for 13 years, and I worked with these kids, and I was talking to one of those girls who was in puppets years ago with me just today on the phone. She called me, and so it's great not only to establish the rapport, but to know you can build a relationship that will last for years. I think the tween years are so formative because that's when you can help them grow and help them learn to be
What would
leaders.
those ages be from?
Well, we had them there from,
12, or is that
well, tween is 9 to 12.
Okay.
So we had those 9 to 12-year-olds plus the teenagers. And we developed a program where I wasn't doing all the directing and all the leading. I taught the first puppeteers, and my oldest daughter helped do that. And then we had them train the upcoming puppeteers. We'd run a puppet camp in the summer to train the children to train the new ones to be puppeteers. And some of them would just, their first year being in that training program as a leader, you might say, all they did was show the videos we had and things. The ones that were more experienced taught them the actual puppetry skills. And they all knew they got to grow up and do the next level.
I had an educator tell me that those years are where their brain is really hardwired. I also had an expert on the show one time who, you know, people try to say that pot, nothing, you know, it's just, but it can, young people smoking pot changes their brain forever.
It does.
And parents need to know that because states are voting it in, as Florida did.
Yes.
And one that pushed it so hard, I read in the paper, was spending $100 million on a pot farm. So, hello, you know, follow the money.
Yes, yes. Well, and it is a formative year. It's a year that you have to really be sensitive to them. And that's why during devotions, you have time to establish and speak with them, not just giving them directions or correcting them or going through grades, but having fun and engaging them with God's Word. But I had one puppeteer who didn't come to me. They just quit, and they tried to slink away and not see me at church and things. And I asked somebody what happened, and they said, well, I don't know, he just doesn't want to be in. And I said, okay. And I made sure I went to where I would see him. And I said, hey, come on over here. And he says, well, and I said, it's okay. I love you. It's all right. And I talked to him and said, I understand you want to make a new choice, that puppetry isn't what you want to do right now. And that's fine, because you have to make choices in life. And if you ever want to come back, you're welcome back, and that's okay. Well, after that, he was able to talk to me at church every week again. And 3 years later, he said, hey, can I really come back to puppets? And I said, sure. And he came back in.
I love that story. I think most of us don't really know how to talk to them. But
Yeah.
you drew him right in, gave him some options.
I did, and I didn't want him to feel bad or slink away, because in life he's going to make new choices and want to say no to something. But he's got to learn to be an adult, to say it no to the person and say, you know, it's not for me any longer.
Leave
and I
the
gave
door
him that
open.
freedom. Yes,
Leave the-
and that's part of what I like to do in working with your own family, is teach them those communication skills while you're talking to them, while you're doing a devotion, while you're doing the activity that goes with it.
We have just a couple minutes left. Let's talk about this one, which Focus on the Family promotes, and it's Raising Young Modern Day Princes. So this is for the parents, grandparents with daughters and granddaughters,
With
right?
girls under age 11, so newborn through age
There's
11.
that age group again.
Yes, and the subtitle is Growing the Fruit of the Spirit in Your Little Girl. So whether you're doing self-control, kindness, patience, serving, it's really, and I love doing this because I can see in that many girls, they go into that mean girl aspect, and this helps to bring them back to that kindness, to that serving, to work with a child, whether a story in there about my older daughter who was having a terrible temper tantrum at a store at 2.5 years old. And, you know, I had to wait for her to calm, take her out of the store. We didn't buy a thing. And when she was calm, we went through everything. And then I said, now, you know what? We have to go back to that store. She says, we're going to get that coat. And I said, might not be there. If it is, that's okay, but we have to go back because you have to apologize to the people who
How old was
had
she?
to listen. 2.5. And I took her back the next day, and she had to say she was sorry to the clerk in the store for causing a tantrum.
I love, you're a great
and
mother.
doing that,
Oh.
and well, she did it. But she learned a lesson, and they did still have the store.
She
so
learned
we
it
got
very
that.
young, too.
Yes. And so, you know, it's just working with them. How do we do that? And that book has over 100 activities to do with your child. It's got a daddy section in every chapter and daddy-daughter activities to do, because we don't want to forget the dads. You know, they're so important in a little girl's life.
Well, absolutely. If a girl has a good dad, it totally changes the outcome. We are just about out of time, but you're working on some others that we want you to come back. Honestly, Karen, I think you're singularly gifted.
Well, thanks.
I really do, and I'm thankful that you use this for the Lord, and I hope that the viewers will really take advantage of these kind of materials that, as for me, I don't have the gift to bring them into fruition, and probably a lot of you are like me, but God has raised someone up that's going to help you communicate a whole lot better with your own children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and so forth. Okay, stay with me. I have a couple things to say before we have to say goodbye.
Arthelene would like you to keep the following information handy. You may contact Homekeepers by writing to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758, or go to www.rippy.org. Remember, we always enjoy hearing from our viewers, and we thank you for your support.
I want to again remind you of our offer today, Devotions for Difficult Times, and that's for that gift of $20 to the program. The information is on your screen, but you know a lot of times a message from a devotional like this can be exactly what you need, so I encourage you to order it. You know, today I ask your indulgence as I look back on a small slice of my own personal history. In 1979, Dr. Billy Graham came to Tampa for a crusade, and I was privileged to serve on the executive committee for that extraordinary event. As was his custom, Dr. Graham came to address the committee a few days before the start of the meeting, which was then followed by a press conference. I took my son, Michael, his bride, Terry, and my daughter, Meredith, to this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Now, Terry is our family photographer and historian, and she stood alongside the Tampa Press Corps recording the event with her little Brownie Instamatic camera. As the press conference broke up, Terry ran up to Dr. Graham and asked to have a picture taken with him, to which he replied, "I never have my picture taken with just one lady, but if someone will join you, I'll be glad to." Then Meredith ran up to become the required third party. The picture was taken, and the film immediately hustled off to one of those quick developing shops. And this is the picture I've treasured all these years. My children were so excited. Dr. Graham signed Michael's Bible, and he was certain that Billy Graham's signature would help him as he prepared for the ministry. But later that evening, while viewing the picture, tears of gratitude poured down my face. You see, my children had just come through trials and difficulties that very few adults ever face. And they'd been seriously mistreated by some in the church. It's sad to say, but many young people, as well as adults, have left the faith for much, much less than they endured. As I looked at that picture, it dawned on me that in spite of their sorrow and mistreatment, my children's hero wasn't some lewd Hollywood star or foul-mouthed rock singer. Rather, the one they looked up to was an aging evangelist who tirelessly preached the message of salvation. Who are the heroes in the lives of your children and grandchildren? Are they the filthy talking rappers with their pants falling down? Or the latest Hollywood celebrities flaunting their children out of wedlock? In answering that question, you would have to consider what you allow in your home. What kind of music, television, and literature? Remember, you own the television set, the computer, and all the technical devices that can be used for either good or evil. It is your God-given responsibility to control what comes into your house, and also to place before them people worthy of their admiration. And by the way, who's the hero in your life? No matter the age, we all have them. Think about it. And please remember, my friend, there's no calling, no higher calling, none than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.
Have you noticed that just about anything and everything affects the home? Hi, I'm Arthelene Rippy, inviting you to join me for Homekeepers, where you'll meet Bible teachers, authors, educators, health professionals, politicians, doctors, attorneys, Christian psychologists, and financial advisors. And you will enjoy every home's special meeting place, the kitchen. Don't miss Homekeepers, Monday through Friday, and always remember, there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper.